Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu calls Washington's messaging of a Gaza ceasefire deal as inaccurate. The country's forces withdraw from Yemen after 10-day violent aggression. Dreadful fire in a school in central Kenya burns 17 students beyond recognition. EU Climate Monitor says the world sees the hottest June to August ever, the second year in a row for the Northern Hemisphere experiencing its hottest summer on record. Typhoon Yagi ravages Hong Kong. Businesses and schools remain closed. India reaches historic double-digit medal tally at the Paris Paralympics with 25 medals in the kitty. India to be in action at the para-athletics as well as powerlifting events on day 9, expecting more history in the making. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Thursday rejected the United States' optimism over a ceasefire deal. Netanyahu called Washington's messaging of a ceasefire deal being close as, quote-unquote, exactly inaccurate. Now, he called the possibility of a looming deal as a false narrative, and he blamed Hamas for any failed negotiations. Meanwhile, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Thursday urged both Israel and Hamas to finalize a Gaza truce.
At this point, it seems to me that it's really incumbent on both parties to get to yes on these remaining issues.
Israeli forces have withdrawn from the city of Jenin and a refugee camp where more than 20 gunmen were killed in drone strikes amid an operation in the northern West Bank. Protesters in Tel Aviv gathered for a fifth consecutive night on Thursday, demanding an immediate hostage deal. Protesters, they set off flares on a road that they blocked in Tel Aviv, calling on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to do more to bring home the remaining hostages in Gaza. Thousands of demonstrators have taken to the streets since Sunday after the bodies of 6 hostages were recovered from a tunnel in Gaza where they were apparently killed shortly before the troops reached them. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock met the Israeli Foreign Minister Israel Katz on Friday. On the second day of her trip to the Middle East, Baerbock continues Germany's efforts towards a deal between Israel and Hamas to end this conflict. This marks, in fact, her 11th such visit to the Middle East and her 9th to Israel since October of last year. In a press conference, she expressed her concern about the latest Munich attack.
I expressed my deepest and full solidarity with Minister Katz in the view of the attack on Israel's Consulate General yesterday in Munich. This is a terrible situation. This is a terrible moment for us, especially on the very anniversary of Munich 1972. Anti-Semitism aims at the heart of our society, and we will not cease to fight this.
Gaza are calling for a permanent ceasefire, stressing that their priority is to return to their homes.
Since this ceasefire is implemented to vaccinate the children against polio, somehow there is some hope for the people. However, this is not the desired hope that we want. We hope to God that the truce is permanent, not just 3 days or 3 hours.
Surprise support came in for Kamala Harris from the Russian President Vladimir Putin. And now Donald Trump is confused whether it's good for him or not. Speaking at the Vladivostok Eastern Economic Forum, Putin came out in open support of Kamala Harris by saying that Trump had put most of the sanctions on Russia when he was the President of the United States. And he asked his supporters in the United States to vote for Harris. Now, Putin also praised the body language of Kamala Harris, saying that she has an infectious laugh.
As for the favorites, it is not for us to determine that. It is, after all, the choice of the American people. I have already said the favorite, if I may say so, was the acting president, Mr. Biden. But he has withdrawn from the race, but he recommended that all his supporters back Mrs. Harris. So we will do the same. We will support her. She has such an expressive and infectious laugh. It shows she's doing well. I mean, Trump, he's imposed more restrictions and sanctions on Russia than any president has ever imposed before.
However, it didn't amuse the Republican candidate and former President Donald Trump. He sounded a bit disappointed at the time when every vote counts in what appears to be a neck-and-neck contest. Trump said that he was surprised and he didn't know how to react.
Came out today, he endorsed Kamala, and I didn't know, was I supposed to call him up and say, thank you very much, I appreciate it. But he endorsed Kamala. I have a feeling, I don't know. I don't know exactly what to say about that. I don't know if I'm insulted or he did me a favor.
Well, the White House has sharply reacted to Putin's comments, saying that he should stop talking about the upcoming U.S. elections. The National Security spokesperson John Kirby said on Thursday, and I quote him, Putin ought to stop talking about our elections, period. He shouldn't be favoring anybody one way or the other, unquote. Kirby's comments came a day after the U.S. Justice Department charged two Russian media executives over an alleged illegal scheme to influence the November election with pro-Russia propaganda. While presidential candidates of both Republican and Democratic parties have heightened their fiery campaigns, their juniors are not far behind in increasing the pitch of the campaign in different parts of the United States. On Thursday, the Democratic vice presidential candidate Tim Walz was campaigning in Pennsylvania on a two-day solo trip with a rally in Erie. Now, he hit out at the Republican presidential nominee, Donald Trump, saying that the former president didn't know what the American promise was.
Now, I'm going to quote, which I think is a brilliant quote, by your great governor, Josh Shapiro. He often says, and I hear him say this, whenever Donald Trump's talking about America, he's shit-talking America. He does not believe in the promise of America, and he continues to put this country down. Whether it's our veterans or working people, he continues to do it.
Well, the Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance was on the campaign trail in Phoenix in Arizona and taking on Kamala Harris. J.D. Vance ridiculed her statements against illegal immigration, saying that Donald Trump had already done what it takes by creating walls on borders. Now Harris is just talking about the same. He made fun of her, calling her presidential ambition of not president but one of vice principal.
So funny to hear Democrat politicians talk about Donald Trump and they say, well, we want to close the border. Well, Donald Trump already did it. You know what she really wants to do? And look out for this on September the 10th. She really wants a moment where she can interrupt Donald Trump and say, I'm speaking. Because, you know, Kamala Harris, sometimes I think she doesn't want to be the vice president. She wants to be the vice principal.
November 5 is fast approaching, and the campaign for the U.S. elections is seeing a series of commitments and promises made by the candidates. The Republican candidate Donald Trump vows to turn the United States into a cryptocurrency capital of the world, while his Democratic rival Harris has promised to end gun violence. Trump on Thursday was speaking at the Economic Club of New York, and he unveiled his economic vision for post-2024 United States of America to assure new age investors. He vowed to make the U.S. the capital of crypto and Bitcoin trade, and he said that he will create an efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government.
And instead of attacking industries of the future, we will embrace them, including making America the world capital for crypto and Bitcoin. I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government and making recommendations.
A day earlier, the U.S. Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris had responded to a Wednesday morning shooting at the Appalachian High School in Winder, and she was campaigning in Northampton and Maryland. She promised to end gun violence once she became president.
It's just outrageous that every day in our country, in the United States of America, that parents have to send their children to school worried about whether or not their child will come home alive. It's senseless. It is. We've got to stop it. And we have to end this epidemic of gun violence in our country once and for all. You know, it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way.
And the former U.S. President and Donald Trump, who's the Republican Party candidate, on Thursday addressed the New York Economic Club. And during his speech, he said that he would appoint his supporter, Elon Musk, as the head of the Government Efficiency Commission if he wins the upcoming election. In a conversation held earlier between the two, Musk showed interest in serving on this board.
Elon Musk, who has given me his complete and total endorsement. That's nice. Smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. It's very, very much appreciated. I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government and making recommendations for drastic reforms. We need to do it. In 2022, fraud and improper payments alone cost taxpayers an estimated hundreds of billions of dollars. As the first order of business, this commission will develop an action plan to totally eliminate fraud and improper payments within 6 months. This will save trillions of dollars, trillions. It's massive. For the same service that you have right now, trillions of dollars is wasted and gone and nobody knows where it went. Further taming inflation and bringing prices way down.
Still in the United States, the Georgia state officials have arrested the father of the Appalachian High School shooting, the suspect in connection with Wednesday's shooting that left 4 people dead. The shooting incident claimed 4 innocent lives, including two students and 2 teachers. Let's look at this report.
Colin Gray, the father of the 14-year-old suspect in a horrific shooting incident at a high school in Georgia, has been arrested. Colin Gray has been charged with involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second-degree murder, and 8 of cruelty to children, while his son, Colt Gray, has been charged with 4 counts of murder. Authorities said that he will be tried as an adult in court on Friday.
In coordination with the District Attorney Brad Smith, the GBI has arrested Colin Gray, age 54, in connection to the shooting here at Appalachian High School. Colin is Colt Gray's father that was arrested yesterday. He is charged with the following: 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second-degree murder, and 8 counts of cruelty to children.
The father-son duo were questioned by local officials last year in connection with an online threat to commit a school shooting. Expressing grief and extending condolences, U.S. President Joe Biden called for an urgent legislative action, including a ban on assault weapons and universal background checks.
Let's enact universal background checks, and then immunity for gun manufacturers. And I realize I'm in a rural area like the rural parts of my state where guns, we all have them. And it's not popular to talk about it, but the truth is there's a difference between rational and irrational. Imagine, the only outfit in the world that we can't sue and by law, passed by law, are gun manufacturers.
Democratic US Vice President candidate Tim Walz said that he was sick and tired of thoughts and prayers and that there was work to do.
Now for those kids, it'll always be a time of sheer terror. And that'll be a memory that they'll hold forever. And it's a reminder to the rest of the country, we've got work to do, and I, for one, am sick and tired of hearing about thoughts and prayers rather than actually doing something about it.
The latest shooting is the first such incident in the new school year in the United States and served as a stark reminder of the threat of gun violence in schools and colleges across the nation. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, still to come here on DD India News Hour. Ukraine claims incursion into Kursk region is a tactical success. US orders $45 million in humanitarian aid for Haiti. UN mission suspects war crimes in Sudan. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Moving on to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Now, Ukraine has issued increasingly forceful and public calls to provide more help to protect its skies from Russian aircraft and drones following intense aerial strikes. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is in Germany attending the meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group of allies at the Ramstein Air Base. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said that Washington will provide $250 million in new military aid for Ukraine as Kiev faces advancing Russian forces in the east and devastating strikes by Moscow.
The United States is working with Ukraine to design and build a substitute for the S-300 surface-to-air missile system and the R-27 air-to-air missile. The United States has also allocated more than $200 million to purchase critical components to let Ukraine produce the UAVs and the electronic warfare systems that it has deployed so effectively. Our national armaments directors are working in lockstep with the capability coalitions to meet these needs and speed up deliveries.
Zelensky, who was sitting beside him, said that Kiev needs a stronger fleet, a much stronger fleet of F-16 fighter jets in critical circumstances. He added that significantly a number of air defense systems were pledged, but they are not delivered yet. And he stressed on the need for strong decisions on long-term strikes, on long-range strikes that are being that bring that can bring peace closer. Ahead of the gathering, the UK announced that it would send Ukraine a package of 650 air defense missiles. That was mentioned, and the Defense Ministry said that they are keeping with the new government's commitments to speed up deliveries of aid to Ukraine. The first batch of missiles announced on Friday were expected to arrive by the end of the year. The first batch is due to arrive by the end of the year. The Biden administration is in urgent talks with the Congress of the United States, and this is to use up $6 billion in military aid for Ukraine before it expires on September 30. The funds are part of a $61 billion package passed in April under its Presidential Drawdown Authority, which allows emergency transfers of U.S. defense supplies. However, of the $7.8 billion allocated, only a fraction has been used, leaving $6 billion at risk. With the fiscal year ending soon, officials are pushing to extend the PDA through a continuing resolution, a critical spending bill needed to prevent a government shutdown. Both Democratic and Republican lawmakers, who have backed the $175 billion in Ukraine aid since 2022, are emphasizing the need for continued support as the deadline looms. Here's an update on the ground situation now. Ukraine controls around 100 settlements in Russia's Kursk region. That's the claim. The Ukrainian president talked about this, and he said that Kiev's incursion into Kursk has proven to be a tactical success. Ukraine has said that the Russian forces have been unable to make any advances in the Pokrovsk region, in the sector there, and this is for 6 consecutive days. Skirsky's remarks contradict Russian President Vladimir Putin's claim that the incursion had no effect on Moscow's operations.
We control an area of more than 1,300 square kilometers in the Kursk region, and this includes 100 settlements. A significant part of this territory was abandoned by Russian troops. They simply fled when they saw our forces approaching. Of course, a significant part of the territory was taken under control by our forces in the battles. So far, during the first months of our operation in the Kursk region, the Russian forces have lost about 6,000 soldiers killed and wounded.
Here's an update now on the Russian strikes on Ukraine. At least 5 people were injured in the recent attack in Lviv. A team of 32 firefighters had put out a fire, and the governor reported no injuries during the attack. Various overnight attacks in the central region injured 2 people and damaged over 12 homes, and also impacted power lines and gas pipelines. Ukraine's Air Force said that it shot down 27 of the 44 Russian-launched drones, with 8 more likely downed by the electronic warfare tools overnight. Poland has backed away from claims that a drone likely breached its airspace during a Russian attack on Ukraine in August. After 10 days of intense analysis and a fruitless search, military officials now say that they believe no such incursion took place on August 26. The initial radar detected it was a detection of a possible drone. It had sparked alarm in the NATO member country, raising concerns over airspace security. General Maciej Kalatic, the head of the Polish Army's operational command, stated that it's now highly probable that no violation occurred. However, he warned that the risk of future airspace breaches remains high as the Russian attacks on Ukraine continue. Poland remains vigilant amid growing fears of the spillover from the ongoing conflict. In a horrific incident, 17 students lost their lives in a school fire in central Kenya on Friday. Now, there are fears that the death toll is likely to rise as more than a dozen students, a dozen others, have been hospitalized with severe burns. The cause of this fire at Hillside Endrasha Primary School in Nyeri County is not known as yet. President William Ruto called the incident horrific and devastating and has ordered an investigation. A team of investigators has been deployed to the school. School fires are quite common actually in Kenyan boarding schools. In 2017, 10 students died in an arson attack at Moi Girls High School in the capital Nairobi. At least 67 students died in Machakos County, southeast of Nairobi, in the deadliest Kenya school arson that took place more than 20 years ago. The U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken called for renewing a United Nations mandate for an international security mission to help Haiti fight armed gangs. Blinken met with the Haitian Prime Minister Gary Conille and the head of its presidential council, Edgard Leblon Fils, during his visit. And he also announced further $45 million in humanitarian aid for Haiti. Blinken said that he planned to convene a ministerial meeting at the UN General Assembly this month to encourage more financial contributions as well as to renew the mission's mandate.
The mission itself needs to be renewed, and that's what we're working on right now. But we also want to make sure that we have something that is reliable, that's sustainable, and we'll look at every option to do that. So a peacekeeping operation would be one such option. I think there are others. The United States is also committed to using this foundation of security to support and unlock the potential of the Haitian people. We're the largest contributor of humanitarian assistance to Haiti. That includes an additional $45 million in humanitarian aid that I'm announcing today, bringing the total U.S. aid to over $210 million this year.
Meanwhile, Haiti has expanded its state of emergency to cover the entire nation territory. Now, this happened a day after the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken met with the Haitian authorities on the island. The Prime Minister, Gary Conille, on Wednesday expanded this state of emergency to cover the entire nation. Kenyan police officers who are part of a UN-backed security mission began arriving in Haiti in June. The state of emergency was repeatedly renewed and other departments were later added. The U.S. is the largest funder of a UN-backed security mission that was requested in 2022 to help fight the gangs and reclaim territory. Let's take a look now at other stories making the news around the world. Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida is on a two-day state visit to South Korea beginning on Friday. Both the leaders are holding a summit meeting, and in his opening remarks, the South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol said that it's important to continue the positive momentum in relations with Japan. Guatemala City held its first hearing of an incident where 53 migrants died due to suffocation in Texas. The alleged leader of the human trafficking network, Rigoberto Miranda Orozco, attended this hearing. The incident had happened in June of 2022, probing the police to take action against the human smuggling network involved in the cases. Recommending an arms embargo and a peacekeeping force to protect civilians, a UN fact-finding mission has given a 19-page report. It's a detailed report, and this report claims that both sides in Sudan's civil war have committed appalling abuses to a large scale, which may be tantamount to war crimes. The Tunisian presidential candidate Ayachi Zamel was released from prison by the police on, in fact, he was released from police custody on Friday. He had been arrested on charges of election-related irregularities. Zamel is one of three candidates who are approved for the October 6 elections, which are scheduled later this year. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. A central team is to visit Andhra Pradesh amid the devastating floods there. Prime Minister to launch the Water Conservation Public Participation Initiative in Surat. In the Kolkata doctor's rape murder case, the Supreme Court of India has dismissed the plea of the ex-RG Kar College principal Sandeep Ghosh.
How it stands at the forefront of this energy transition, offering a clean, versatile solution to decarbonize sectors that have long relied on fossil fuels.
Green hydrogen is actually produced when you use renewable energy to power the electrolyzer, which splits water into hydrogen and oxygen.
Green hydrogen has a very, very critical role to play because it allows us to start getting into solutions that work for a lot of the other energy consuming sectors.
India has some of the brightest people in the world, and the visibility that the government has given in terms of national mission and side programs. So I think others will find the same reasons to invest and grow deeper in building their products.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Here's a recap of our main stories. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu calls Washington's messaging of a Gaza ceasefire deal as inaccurate. The country's forces withdraw from Jenin after a 10-day violent aggression. Dreadful fire in a school in central Kenya burns 17 students beyond recognition. EU Climate Monitor says that the world sees its hottest June to August ever. The second year in a row for the Northern Hemisphere experiencing its hottest summer ever. Typhoon Yagi ravages Hong Kong. Businesses and schools remain closed. And India reaches a historic double-digit medal tally at the Paralympics with 25 medals to its kitty. What's happened is that the Indian athletes are going to be in action once again in events in para-athletics and powerlifting in the hope that Day 9 will be making more history for India. The excessive heat worldwide suggests the full year will be a record breaker as per the EU Weather Agency. Now, heat waves this summer are record breaking. They are breaking all global records.
Intense heat has stifled the globe with record-breaking hot summers. The 2024 northern summer saw the highest global temperatures ever recorded, beating last year's record and making it this likely to be the Earth's hottest year yet. As per the EU's climate monitor, the average global temperature at the Earth's surface was 16.82 degrees Celsius in August. Global temperatures for the month of June-August broke through the level of 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial average, which is a key threshold for limiting the worst effects of climate change. Searing temperatures are roasting the US western region once again. Excessive heat warning has been extended for the week as experts flagged a risk of wildfires in the parts of southern California, Arizona and Nevada. In South America's Ecuador, firefighters and volunteers struggle to douse wildfires raging in the capital city. Residents are facing worst air quality in years. Africa is no different. Many countries in the continent are facing effects of climate change. African governments and the climate negotiators are considering various strategies at the pre-COP29.
In Africa, as in all regions, the climate crisis is an economic sinkhole, sucking the momentum out of economic growth. In fact, many African nations are losing up to 5% of GDP as a result of climate impacts. Consider food production being hit hard, contributing to the re-emergence of famine, while also pushing up global prices and with them inflation and the cost of living.
Extreme heat has seared much of East Asia this summer. Japan logged its hottest summer on record with long-term average temperatures between June and August at 1.76 Celsius, above the standard value since 1898. China also logged the hottest August on record. The national average temperature was the highest for the same period since 1961. Iraq is experiencing its worst drought in decades, with temperatures exceeding 50 degrees Celsius in summer. The planet's changed climate continued to fuel disasters this summer. In Sudan, flooding from heavy rains last month affected more than 300,000 people, while Italian islands of Sicily and Sardinia face severe drought conditions. Human-caused climate change and the El Niño natural weather phenomena has pushed temperatures to record highs earlier this year. Below average temperatures in the equatorial Pacific last month indicated a shift to La Nina, but even that did not prevent the unusually high global sea surface temperatures worldwide. Tripti Tripathi for DD India.
And Dr. Vibha Dhawan, who is the Director General of the Energy and Resources Institute, now joins us for more on this subject. Dr. Dhawan, is the speed of climate change faster than anticipated?
Yes, you can say so. And really speaking, we should really get worried about, because with 1.15 degrees increase in global temperatures, we have seen what is happening around us. And really speaking, even if we take timely action, we will not be able to stop below 1.5 degrees. And whatever we are doing today, it's going to take us many years, and maybe 50 more years, that we will be able to see the U-turn or decrease in temperatures and so on. So it's very worrisome at the moment.
So what you're saying, Dr. Dhawan, then is that sustainable lifestyles are not enough to decelerate the rate of change. We need something more.
Yes, absolutely. And that is what we are saying, nature-based solutions. We need to plant more trees. We need to absorb more of carbon dioxide. And it's in everything, right from the building design, the way you cool your buildings. Air conditioning is not the only answer. We really have to look into every aspect to decarbonize as well as absorb what we are emitting today.
Dr. Dhawan, how badly will the tropics and the latitudes closer to the equator, like India, be affected?
See, the worst part, because when we talk of climate change, it is that all countries are not going to be equally impacted, and countries like ours are going to be worse impacted. Now, when I say impact, it is not just increase in temperature, it is also the precipitation. We have observed, especially in Delhi, it was almost 50 degrees centigrade and spread over almost a month and a half, and now it is rains. So it is extremes of temperature. Now, many of us, the fortunate ones, we can withstand these things largely because we can afford air conditioning, we can at least afford ceiling fans and so on. But what is also happening is, because of the air conditioning, we are increasing the temperature around us. So those laborers who are working in the field, or those who are outside on the streets, hawkers, and so on, so for them it is becoming all the more difficult. Let's also look into, we are talking of humans, and last time you have also stated that due to increase in temperature, even birds, they are falling on the ground, they are dead. And then let's also look into plants. It is going to impact crop productivity. And apart from annual crops, we are also talking of trees which have to withstand cold weather, hot weather, increase in temperature year after year. And usually we tend to ignore that. We simply say because of this particular reason, but that is one of the reasons. But what is happening on day-to-day basis is that impact of climate change. It's also going to impact your or humans' productivity. High temperature means less of productivity, so that's also we have to take into consideration.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Dr. Dhawan. Thank you for putting that into context for us. Moving on then to our next story. Powerful gales and heavy rains from the deadly super typhoon Yagi drenched southern China on Friday as Asia's strongest storm this year headed for landfall along the coast of Hainan province. Now, the state media said that 400,000 people were evacuated from the island of Hainan, and businesses and schools were shut for the second day. Flights too were cancelled as the super typhoon Yagi slowly edged its way past the city. Yagi is expected, in fact, to make landfall along China's coast between Wenchang and Hainan and Lizhou in Guangdong province on Friday afternoon. So it will then move to Vietnam and Laos for the weekend, and Yagi is registered as the world's second most powerful tropical cyclone so far this year in 2024. In India, heavy rainfall has caused severe flooding in Andhra Pradesh, with roads and houses submerged. The continuous rainfall triggered by a land-based cyclone. It's resulted in heavy precipitation over the last 24 hours. The extreme weather was fueled by moisture from the Arabian Sea and heat from the eastern parts of the country. The National Disaster Response Force, along with the central forces and the local officials, they are working to provide relief. And Ravi Shankar Mudigonda is joining us from Guntur with more on the story. Ravi Shankar, tell us more about the Indian Navy's response, their help in the rescue and relief operations.
Yeah, welcome back. If you consider the Navy, especially the Vizag Naval Base, it is working with 3 helicopters under their naval men for this unpredicted floods of Andhra Pradesh, especially Vijayawada. It was hardly hit by these floods. And in Vijayawada, NDRF teams, they are also serving on behalf of the central government. In two major aircraft, the central government has sent at about 250 NDRF partners, along with 30 tons of machinery for these rehabilitation and relief activities in Andhra Pradesh. And the central government, Central Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan, he also visited yesterday Andhra Pradesh along with Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu. He visited all the flood-affected areas in Vijayawada city, especially Singanagar, Paikapuram, and all those. And after visiting, he had a review with all the officials. In his review, he was very much wondered that in these relief activities, drones and fire engines, sanitation workers from all over the AP are pulled up and they are working very rapidly, and he applauded the state government also. And if you see the IMD predictions, apart from the past rains, another 3 days heavy rains are there predicted in Andhra Pradesh. And for those also, Andhra Pradesh government is doing its maximum possible for the relief activities also. And the crop loss, it was majorly damaged in Andhra Pradesh at about 1.8 lakh hectares of crop lost because of these previous rains in Andhra Pradesh.
Ravi Shankar, also tell us a little bit about the relief camps that are being set up.
Yeah, relief camps have been set up in 82 areas of Andhra Pradesh, and Vijayawada, it was targeted for these relief camps also because in the urban area itself, which are low-lying and they are very much affected by this Budameru rivulet, its breach, it affected Vijayawada's east-west area completely. And because of this, these three areas, Paikapuram, Singanagar, and Ajit Singh Nagar, these three areas got very much affected. These 3 years, at about 1,000 plus people were pulled by helicopters and all those to the rehabilitation activity, it is rehabilitation camp, and they are serving like anything by the state government comfortably.
Right, we leave it there. Thank you very much. Ravi Shankar Mudigonda from Guntur with the update. Now, a unique campaign of water conservation and nature conservation is going on in India with public participation and public movement. The country's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he launched the Jal Sanchay Jal Bhagidhari initiative in the state of Gujarat on Friday. It emphasizes the need for ensuring water security. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the government is committed to fulfilling this purpose through the means of water conservation. While addressing this event, Prime Minister said that water conservation, nature conservation, they are part of India's cultural consciousness. And he added that it's not just a matter of policies, but also a social commitment.
पानी के नाम पर, नदियों के नाम पर पहले भी दशकों तक हजारों करोड़ की योजनाएं आती रही, लेकिन परिणाम इन्हीं 10 वर्षों में देखने को मिले हैं। हमारी सरकार ने होल ऑफ सोसाइटी और होल ऑफ गवर्नमेंट के अप्रोच के साथ काम किया है। आप 10 वर्षों की सभी बड़ी योजनाओं को देखिए, पानी से जुड़े विषयों पर पहली बार साइलोज को तोड़ा गया। हमने होल ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट के कमिटमेंट पर पहली बार एक अलग जल शक्ति मंत्रालय बनाया। जल जीवन मिशन के रूप में पहली बार देश ने हर घर जल इसका संकल्प लिया।
The World Bank has announced an ambitious plan to provide affordable electricity to 300 million people across Africa by 2030. In partnership with the African Development Bank, the World Bank will bring electricity to an additional 50 million people. India has the third largest capacity in solar energy storage and is taking important steps striding forward in clean energy. So the World Bank signed an MOU with the International Solar Alliance, which is headquartered in India, to use this platform to help meet the challenge of one sun, one world, one grid. Let's take a look now at other stories making news. In the latest update in Kolkata's RG Kar Medical College case, the Apex Court of India, that's the Supreme Court, has refused to entertain the former principal of the college, Sandeep Ghosh, against the Calcutta High Court's decision ordering CBI probe into the graft case against him. The Supreme Court said that Ghosh doesn't have the locus to intervene in the public interest litigation alleging financial irregularities. India's Union Home Minister Amit Shah will visit Jammu and Kashmir on Friday ahead of the assembly elections there. Shah is scheduled to launch the Bharatiya Janata Party's poll campaign and release the party's manifesto during the two-day visit. Prior to his visit, Amit Shah took to X and he said, and I quote, "Jammu and Kashmir has transformed from a terrorist hotspot into a tourist hotspot with an increase in educational and economic activities." The assembly election will be held in 3 phases beginning September 18. In a stunning display of proficiency, the Officers Training Academy hosted a combined display of martial arts and other activities featuring Officers Training Academy cadets and the Indian Army display teams in Chennai. The display is part of the passing out parade, which is part of this facility, and it's held on September the 7th. A cycle expedition with 27 soldiers has been flagged off from Hyderabad, marking 75 years of dedicated service. The expedition was undertaken with the objective of protecting the safety of the people and the country, celebrating a legacy of valor and commitment. The expedition started from Siachen in Kashmir. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. Sabalenka and Pegula, they advance to the US Open final with hard-fought wins. Cristiano Ronaldo becomes the first man to score 900 career goals. And we'll show you Ralph Lauren's Spring 2025 collection.
Welcome to Jaipur.
You're watching DD India News. I'm Mark Lynn. Let's get you business news now. And India has overtaken China to become the top weight nation in the MSCI Emerging Market Investable Market Index for the first time. Indian equities together carry a weighting of 22.27% in the index, edging ahead of Chinese stocks, which have a combined weight of 21.58%. The US brokerage Morgan Stanley highlighted that India's position as the top weight in the index is likely to attract additional foreign capital into Indian firms. The Maldives appears to be headed towards a foreign exchange crisis as the Maldives Monetary Authority, the MMA, has reported a drastic decline in the archipelago's foreign reserves. The forex reserves have fallen to US dollars 395.5 million by the end of July 2024, marking a 33% year-on-year drop. The drop appears even more pronounced when compared against the May 2024 figures of US dollars 492 million. Now, this steep decline comes amid rising government debt and increasing fears of a potential default on the country's sukuk bonds. Experts warn that without foreign assistance, the Maldives could fail to meet its obligation, further destabilizing the nation's economic outlook. Japanese retail giant 7&1 Holdings rejected Canada's elimination Couche-Tard's $38.5 billion cash bid for the company, saying that the proposal was not in the interest of the shareholders. The value of the offer was $14.86 dollars per share, and it would have been the largest ever foreign buyout of a Japanese company. Let's get you the sports news now, and it's time now for me to throw the baton on to Deepika Mehta.
Thanks and good afternoon, Mark. First, let's get your viewers all the latest that is happening in the world of Paris Paralympics. So let's quickly begin with the schedule first. As the Paris Paralympics start off with its 9th day, the Indian para contingent will once again look forward to add more medals to their kitty, with various events lined up for today, having already reached the 25-medal historic mark at the Paris edition of Paralympics. Para-athlete Praveen Kumar will be in action in men's high jump T44, T62 and T64 final today. Apart from that, India can expect another medal in para powerlifting, as Kasturi Rajamani will be in action in women's up to 67 kg final category. On the other hand, Bhavna Bain Chaudhary will also play in women's javelin throw F46 final today at 10:30 p.m. according to Indian Standard Time. Meanwhile, para-athletes Soman Rana and Hokato Seema will be in action in men's shot put F56 and 57 final at the same time tonight. And Narayan Singh joins us with more. Narayan, when we talk about the historic 25-medal mark, India has already created history. How many more medals can we expect ahead of the closing ceremony?
Definitely, as the report mentioned, that today's events that are lined up, 5 medals are there for grab, especially in the power lifting and the athletics in high jump too. So we are hoping that today also the Indian athletes will win more medals for the India, and already they have surpassed the number of medals they won at the Tokyo Paralympics. 19 medals they won, and right now it's 25 medals. So a steep rise is clearly visible in the Indian para sports. If you take a look in 2000, the first in the London Paralympics where India won 1 medal, and in the next Rio edition where India won 4 medals, and in the Tokyo Paralympics it was 19, and right now it's 25 medals, and it will go more up considering the fact that more events are lined up. So it shows that the Indian para sports is on the right trajectory, and hoping that it definitely we can touch around 30 this time around.
All right, thank you so much, Narayan, for joining us and bringing us a quick recap of India's standing at the Paralympics. Moving on to the US Open now. Second seed Aryna Sabalenka clinched a spot in her second straight US Open final with a gritty 6-3, 7-6 victory over 13 seed Emma Navarro on Thursday night. The former world number 1 Sabalenka finished as runners-up to Coco Gauff at last year's US Open. Meanwhile, American Navarro was contesting in her first Grand Slam semi-final and pushed the second set into a tie-break round from 5-3 down. And with this victory, 26-year-old Sabalenka becomes the first woman to reach back-to-back US Open finals since Serena Williams did so in 2018 and 19. Sabalenka has reached all 4 hardcourt Grand Slam finals during the last 2 seasons. Sabalenka will now play Jessica Pegula in Saturday's final after the American rallied to defeat Karolina Muchova in second semi-final. Football superstar Cristiano Ronaldo scored the 900th goal of his illustrious career in Portugal's UEFA Nations League group stage match against Croatia on Thursday. Ronaldo secured the historic goal with a volley from 6 yards off a cross from Nuno Mendes to put Portugal 2-0 up in the 34th minute. Portugal went on to win by 2-1. Ronaldo was also the first to break the 800-goal barrier, doing so in late 2021 while in his second stint with Manchester United. The five-time Ballon d'Or winner is 41 goals ahead of his nearest challenger Lionel Messi, who's on 859. Meanwhile, Brazilian legend Pelé is third on the list with scoring 765 goals across his career. So that was a quick wrap from the world of sports. Back to you, Mark.
Thanks a lot, Deepika. And well, the iconic American clothing brand Ralph Lauren's Spring 2025 collection, it makes a debut in a star-studded event in Bridgehampton. The brand showcased designs from its Spring 2025 Ralph Lauren collection, Purple Label and Polo Ralph Lauren lines across men, women and children in a beautiful runway show. Along with this, a new luxury handbag. The Ralph also made a debut inspired by Lauren's passion for cars. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. That app is available on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. My name is Mark Lin. With me is Deepika Mehto. From all of us here in Delhi, thank you for watching us on DD India News Hour. Namaskar.